Welcome to day 4 of Allow Yourself This Love. I trust Him. Do you trust God unconditionally? Today I invite you to really look at, have you been and do you trust God? Now there are many ways that we can trust God, but there's also many ways we can seemingly lack trust in God. And today is really about exploring the ways in which we subtly lose our trust in God and try and take on circumstances on our own. Now, this topic came up for me one day when I was expecting my morning to go a certain way. I was expecting something to come through or something to happen, and it didn't. It didn't happen the exact way that I was expecting or thought it should happen. And my immediate gut reaction was fear. Like, oh no, now what? And then it was just a couple seconds later when I was like, I trust Him. I trust God. God has chosen the way that this morning should go, and I trust Him. And ultimately He chose it this way because it was the perfect way to lead me to Him. So that's what I'm inviting you to trust in today. Anything that happens, whatever way it looks like or however it goes, trust that God has chosen this path for you to come to Him. This is exactly what God's plan for salvation looks like. Right here, right now, in whatever is happening. This is what God's plan for salvation looks like. And do you trust His plan? Do you trust that He is here for you? Now, you don't have to feel guilty when you don't trust. You don't have to feel like you're bad or something. But really, it's an invitation to start to trust. It's an invitation to look at why you don't trust, what your beliefs are about God that prevent you from trusting Him, and let's choose different beliefs. Let's choose beliefs that open you up to trusting God. Beliefs like He loves you unconditionally. He's always supporting you. He is always taking care of you 100%. If you believe these things about God, it's so easy to open yourself to trusting Him. So, what do you believe about God? And are you willing to let some of those faulty beliefs go in order to trust God? Now, the experience that comes out of trusting God, like for me personally, when I was recognized that I wasn't trusting Him, and I made the decision, I chose again to trust God, to know that this was His perfect plan. The peace that just fills you is amazing and almost overwhelming. It's an experience of complete surrender, and trusting in that surrender, you're completely taken care of. So, do you trust God? Are you willing to believe that He has your back 100% of the time? And no matter what the form looks like, that is God showing you the most unconditional love possible. Are you willing to believe that? If you're willing to take the steps to trusting God, your life will open in such a way that you allow Him to work His beautiful miracles through you in the most amazing way. When you trust God, you're no longer limiting the circumstances you experience to your limited ideas of what it should look like. You're actually completely opening it up to any and every possibility. And the most miraculous things can happen when you do that. And don't you want miracles in your life? Don't you want just the truth and the love and peace to just permeate your life? This is the way to do it, to trust God. And ultimately, if you are hearing the voice for God and you're not trusting Him, and you're not doing what He says or what He inspires you to do, then what good can come of it? What good can come from hearing the voice of God if you don't trust him, if you don't believe that he's got your best interests at heart and he's looking out for you, and that you have to trust that God is omniscient, that he knows the best outcome for everyone involved in every situation that you seem to find yourself. There's no way that you could use your judgment to determine what is the best thing to do that will have the best outcome for everyone involved in any situation. Your judgment can't accomplish that, because there's no way you can see into the future and know how your decision will affect things. There's no way. But there is one who is all powerful, and he is within you. And if you trust him, you open yourself to his wisdom and his guidance and his inspiration. And if you trust him and do as he inspires you to do, then it will be the best thing for everyone involved and will have a miraculous impact in every situation that you decide to trust him in. So, can you do it? Try it today. When a situation comes up, and undoubtedly in every day there usually are, when we're not so good at trusting God, there are moments in which they come up and we're a little bit caught off guard, we're a little bit worried, we're a little bit fearful, we're a little bit in control freak mode, where we think we have to contain the situation, where we think we have to manage it. If you find yourself in that position today, really try and take a step back and realize, I trust him. I trust him. He brought this situation exactly to me, exactly how it is, for a reason, so that I would learn to trust him. So will you learn this lesson today? If you don't learn it today, that's fine, but it's just going to keep coming back to you in different forms until you decide to trust him. Until you learn this lesson, you will have a million different reasons to become upset, because those are just triggering you into remembering, I trust him. Now, I believe in you today. I trust you. I know that you can do this. I know that in your heart you do trust God. You do know that he is the force for good and love, and that he doesn't want anything harmful or bad to happen to you. So, if you take every circumstance that happens as God's love presenting itself to you, you will trust him. And you will know that nothing in this world can happen that can take away or tarnish the love of God for you or your trust in him. You can become really good at this. So good that you have no expectations about any day. You are completely open and completely welcome to whatever may happen. You're free. It's a freedom that can't come from anything else other than trusting God. Than being in complete certainty that you are being taken care of, and that each circumstance is the perfect lesson for you. So anything that comes up, really be grateful. Really try and show gratitude to being reminded that you trust God. This is still something that I'm working on, and I know that I'm given opportunity after opportunity to reinforce this in my own belief system. But I'm grateful for each of those opportunities, because I know that the more and more my trust grows in God, the more and more I experience peace and freedom. And that's what I want in my life. I want peace and I want freedom. So I'm completely open. I completely welcome and invite any situation into my life that encourages me and wakes me up to my need to trust God. And believe me, we all have those every day, but sometimes we don't interpret them correctly. Sometimes we interpret the more challenging aspects of our day as a test, or as just bad things happen, or as reality, whatever definition you give to those lessons in your life. But ultimately what they are is an opportunity, an invitation to wake up. What are you believing here that is making you feel and interpret this situation negatively? And what can you change your beliefs to that will make you feel peaceful, that will open you up to experiencing joy and happiness in this situation? And really, that comes from trusting God. That comes from having faith. And when I was a kid, faith was defined for me in Catholic school as believing in something you can't see. But really, God doesn't require us to believe in something we don't see. Maybe the very first time you trust God, you're having faith in something you don't know for sure. But after that first time works out, there's proof, there's evidence that this works, that God is with you, that you can trust Him. And more your faith is building on the evidence of His love for you. And you don't have to believe in what you don't see. You get to believe in what you do see. And the more and more you do that, the more and more you'll see that. So, have some faith. Surrender to God. And know that you are completely, perfectly taken care of. Don't let any situation today bring you down. Each situation that might seem a little challenging today is exactly because you're being invited, and you're inviting into your life the experience of trusting God. And when you do that, there's a miracle that happens. I like to tell myself, there's a miracle that a grievance would hide. So when you're harboring a grievance about a situation because it doesn't look how you want it to look, or it didn't go how you wanted it to go, if you let that grievance go, there's a miracle there. But if you hold on to that grievance, you'll never see the miracle behind it, because all you're doing is focusing on your grievance. Be humble enough and be willing enough to let your grievance about the situation or about the person go. And when you do that, first of all, that's the first miracle, is that you've let it go. Wow, forgiveness, amazing miracle. And you're also opening the door to many more miracles to flood through that situation. And it'll resolve itself in ways you maybe never could have imagined. And it'll be perfect in ways that you never could have seen before, on how wonderful that experience is to you and your inner journey. So thank you. Thank you for joining me on this vision and this love and trust trip. This trip of trust. We're going on a mission and a trip of trust. And I'm glad that you're here with me, because it's easier to trust sometimes when you have other people around you who are willing to trust and are willing and are witnesses to you to say, yes, you can trust. Take it from me. I'm here to tell you, you can trust now. It's okay. I know that you have a lot of other habits and tools you may have built up to try and protect yourself. And those are okay. You can be grateful to your old habits for the survival that they provided you. But you don't need them anymore. Now you have the true source of survival. You have the true source of life and protection. And that is God. And you don't need your autonomous ways of being anymore. You can really let those go in favor of a united being with God. A united trust that you're working together and that He has your back. These are the true survival tips that can get you through anything. Any situation you find yourself in, you can learn to trust. And with that trust will come peace and happiness. And peace of mind is no small gift. Peace of mind is a miracle. And if you give yourself that miracle by trusting in God, you will be overwhelmed at the joy you experience. I really hope that you take the opportunity to trust God today. Take a few minutes in the morning before you start your day, or whenever you can, and just recognize and acknowledge that you trust Him. And reinforce that thought to yourself as often as you can today. Reinforce the idea that I trust Him. I trust Him. Whatever comes up, I trust Him. I trust Him. And really, it's a beautiful experience of peace that you will have all through the day if you do this. I trust Him. I trust you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for always being within me, always at my side, in front of me, behind me, all through me. Thank you for your plan for my salvation. I trust you completely. I surrender myself to your will, knowing that your will is what is best for me. Now, we all pray a little differently, and we all maybe meditate or, spend time with God differently. And however it feels comfortable for you, that's what I want you to do today. I want you to really take a little bit of time to connect with God and reinforce for yourself how much you trust Him, how grateful you are that He takes care of you and that He has supported you. I think it's a really awesome realization to make when you realize that you are completely dependent upon God. In every way. First of all, you couldn't be alive without God. So your life is dependent upon God. So if your life is dependent upon God and you're living, that's proof that He's taking care of you. And why would He not provide for you everything else that you need for your life if He has given you life? You must trust Him. You must really have beliefs about God that are completely loving. Because in that way you'll recognize that a being that is completely loving will take care of you. There's no room for anything but love in God's relationship with you. So, can you give yourself the gift of trusting God? Of recognizing you are completely dependent upon Him for everything. You can do nothing of yourself. Everything is done through you, through God. If you can be humble enough to recognize the grandiosity of being dependent upon God, you will realize, wow, God is completely all-powerful and all-knowing. And if those things are true about God, He is the perfect person to be dependent on. That person. He's the perfect being to be dependent on. Why be dependent on myself when I have a connection to a being that is completely all-knowing and completely all-powerful? I'm dependent on Him. That's awesome. I know a lot of time dependence in this world can be seen as a weakness, but when you're dependent on everything if you're dependent on God for everything, God is everything, so how could He not provide everything? I really encourage you to acknowledge your dependence on God today, to reinforce it for yourself, and to realize that that's a great thing, that you're dependent on God. And it's a great thing that you trust God. God is our Father. Think about that. As a father in this world, don't you do everything to provide for your child? Don't you want them to be completely taken care of? Happy, peaceful, loving beings? That's what God wants for us. And really, if God is everything, He can provide everything. He can give those things to us. And He has given those things to us. It's up to us to allow ourselves to have those things. It's up to us to accept peace, happiness, and being perfectly taken care of for ourselves. So Can you do this today? I trust you. Can you really allow yourself the love of God? Can you allow yourself the beauty and peace that comes from trusting God, from knowing and accepting Him as your Father, and the Father that is taking care of you so perfectly and so beautifully, you can never have a want. You can never need something because everything is provided you. All you have to do is acknowledge that you have everything, and you will see that reflected back to you. You will recognize, I do have everything. God has provided me everything. And I willingly and lovingly accept everything into my life because that is what I deserve. That is what I'm worthy of. The total and complete love and care and protection of God the Father. So, you can do it. I trust Him. I trust Him. I trust Him. Really reinforce this for yourself today. Don't let anything that happens prevent you from trusting God. You can give your power to circumstance, or you can take your power back and say, no, I trust. I completely trust 100%. That's your power. To really be unaffected by seemingly difficult circumstances, but to really say, this is the perfect way for me to get home to God. God, we're on our way back home to God. We're on a journey inward to our Father. And He has devised a perfect plan of salvation for each of us. And if we will just trust and hold His hand and walk along this path, we will be home in no time. But what happens is sometimes we deviate. Sometimes we think, oh, that way looks a little bit rocky, so I'm going to go this way and I'm going to go that way. And all we're doing is just taking a little bit of delay time, and then we come back to the same exact path that God would have us be on. So I welcome you to make no more delays in time. To fully trust and take God's hand and walk down the path that He has laid out before you. You don't have to go looking for the path. You don't have to effort for it. God has given it to you, and He presents it to you each and every moment. And all you have to do is trust. All you have to do is keep stepping forward, walking forward, and trusting. Trusting in love without fear that this is the way home to God. Don't feel guilty or feel bad about deviating, because that's, God still loves us. He doesn't judge us. There's never doing anything wrong. All it is delaying our own experience of being home with God. So if you really want to be home with God, the fastest way possible, you have to trust Him. You have to trust that He might be shining the light just on the next step. And you might not be able to see very far beyond that first step, but you take that step anyway. And you take that step anyway. And then the more and more you do that, you come to realize that He always then shines the light on the next step and the next step. And it's perfectly clear and perfectly lit and perfectly safe each time you take that step. So trust. Walk with Him hand in hand and know that He's leading you on the path to heaven. Heaven within, peace of mind, perfect bliss. He wants you with Him always. So don't stray from Him. Don't hold or harbor grievances or resentments against Him or your brothers, which are also His sons. Don't allow yourself to deviate from trusting God, because ultimately, trusting God will lead you home. So, thank you for joining me on this journey home. I'm so grateful that I have you with me, because when we join hands and we walk together, the journey isn't as seemingly rocky. It's more and more stable and more lit with light and love and friendship and brotherhood. So, I'm so grateful I'm so happy and stoked that you're with me on this inner journey within. And I'm glad you're leading me along. Thank you, brothers. You're amazing, awesome reflections of God's love. And I love you. Thank you. Day 4. I trust Him. Do you trust God? You do. I know.